Alright, hello Dr. Devon. Apologies for submitting this way past deadline. I know that this is usually an indication that a student probably just ran out of time. Well, that's actually exactly what happened. My apologies. I know that it's not fun grading stuff late. But anyways, today I'll be talking about Greek architecture and a little bit about philosophy because I recently finished a philosophy course and I think it can add just a little bit of pizzazz to my presentation. Alright, so my most valuable player is the statue of Hercules, which I saw at Getty Villa. And funny story actually, the reason why this was so memorable for me, I got whiplash when I walked into that room because I was reminded of my middle school phases in Greek mythology. I loved Goddess Girls, I loved Percy Jackson, and considering you're an art professor, I am assuming you know what DeviantArt is. Yep. In middle school, I made a bunch of original characters based off of Greek mythology. I had demigods, gods, original characters. Pretty embarrassing, but that's the catalyst for this topic. Alright, a proper introduction to Greek influence for architecture. So, Greek mythology and its pantheon of gods really had a major influence on the architecture of ancient Greece. The Greek temples were dedicated to various deities, and they were designed as a sacred place to honor and worship these said gods. And on the side here, I have these column-looking thingies. These are called orders, and I'll be starting off with Doric first, which is the oldest of the three. It's characterized by a sturdy column. It's pretty plain and simple. It has an unadorned capital. This one in particular is associated with masculine figures and attributes, making it a popular choice for temples dedicated to gods like Zeus and Apollo. One exception, there's many others, but one exception that I'll be talking about is the Parthenon in Athens, which was constructed during the 5th century. It's one of the most iconic examples of the Doric order, and this one was actually dedicated to the goddess Athena, my queen. The second order is Ionic. It's more slender and they have like little scroll-like, I would say, ornaments at the very top. It represents a more refined and graceful style. It's associated with like femininity and beauty. Temples like dedicated to Hera and Artemis usually had the Ionic order constructed. The Temple of Artemis at Ephesus around 50 BC is a notable example of this order. The last one is Corinthian, which is the most ornate and elaborate, I would say. There's like really elaborate leaf work and scroll work at the very top. I would probably say it signifies natural abundance and growth, but maybe that's just looking too far into it. The Corinthian order gained popularity after the Ionic and Doric. It was the last one. There is no major connection to a specific god or anything, although it is commonly featured around Athena and Zeus. Alright, it's everyone's favorite part, philosophy. Okay, so philosophy originates from the Greek term philosophia, which means love of wisdom. I hope I said that right. The ancient Greeks laid the foundation for critical knowledge, logic, systemic inquiry, and that became the basis for various fields of knowledge like science, ethics, metaphysics, business, politics, all of that stuff. The origins of Greek philosophy can be traced back to 6th century BCE with Thales of Miletus. He is considered one of the first Greek philosophers. Thales sought to understand the natural world using rational thinking and empirical observation. So he wanted to move away from like the mythological explanations like the gods and goddesses. He and other Greek philosophers who thought similarly were called the pre-Socratics, and they questioned the fundamental nature of reality and they wanted to discover the underlying principles of the universe. Alright, ancient Greek theaters. They were remarkable architectural wonders that were mainly centers for entertainment, culture, and community gatherings. The origin of Greek theaters can be traced back to the Minoan civilization of the island of Crete, but it's actually the ancient Greeks who perfected the design and concept of theaters. They strategically located theaters in areas that offer not only a view of the actors on stage, but also like picturesque vistas of the surrounding landscape. It was just a really immersive experience for the audience. The Theater of Delphi is one of the most iconic Greek theaters, I would say. It's near the Temple of Apollo in Delphi, and it was constructed in the 5th century during limestone. Wait, I'm sorry, the 4th century, excuse me. This ancient theater had 35 rows of seating, and it could seat about 5,000 spectators. Greek theaters usually played a vital role in the social life of Greek cities. People came there to be entertained, educated, and inspired. So, a couple of examples I found of Greek-inspired theater in today's society is the Hollywood Bowl from Los Angeles and the Red Rocks Amphitheater from Colorado. So, stadiums in the ancient Greek world were crucial venues for sporting events like foot races, and they also served as places of communal gathering and entertainment. The word stadium has, multiple meanings, but in this case, we'll be focusing on the one that's a place where spectators just observe athletic competitions. A good example of an ancient stadium is the ancient stadium of Delphi in Greece. This stadium was primarily used for the Pythian Games, which is one of the most significant athletic competitions of ancient Greece. It was held every 4 years in honor of the god Apollo, and it could seat around 6,000 spectators. The stadium's track, which is where the foot races took place, was usually placed with stone slabs. It was smooth and just level surface for the athletes. Wooden pegs were used to separate the runners and just to maintain order during the races, and the holes in these pegs can actually be seen today. The ancient stadiums were just more than a venue for sports. Sporting events were held in honor of various gods, like I mentioned earlier from Apollo. The victory in these competitions brought a lot of honor and prestige to both the athletes and their hometowns, and the stadiums generally were symbols of Greek athleticism and are a testament to the significance of sports, mythology, and Greek life. And some examples of Greek-inspired stadiums are the Hayward Field from U of Oregon and Dodger Stadium in Los Angeles. I'm running out of time here, but I just wanted to quickly mention some of the durable materials. Classical architecture in the Greek architecture used a lot of marble, limestone, concrete. Various decorative motifs used balance, proportion, and a lot of refined details. They used dentil molding, medium-pitched roofs, boxed eaves, and decorative door surroundings. They also used broken pediments and rectangular windows. Alright, so during the Archaic period, which was from 750 to 500 BCE, sculptures and architecture were typically abstract and they featured geometric artworks, and they depicted realistic humans, such as the Siphian treasury at Delphi. The Classical period and Hellenistic period are one of the two most distinct phases in ancient Greek sculpture and architecture. The Classical period, which lasted from 5th to 4th century BCE, is characterized by idealization of human forms and a focus on the harmonious proportions. Iconic examples of the classical architecture include the Parthenon, a temple atop the Acropolis in Athens, which is known for its Doric columns and pediments, honoring the goddess Athena. On the other hand, the Hellenistic period, which spanned from the late 4th century to the 1st century, saw a departure from the idealized forms of the classical era. Hellenistic sculptures began to embrace more emotional and dramatic expressions, and they depicted scenes of intense passion and dynamic movement. The Acropolis of Pergamon, for example, showcases the Great Altar of Pergamon, a monumental sculptural ensemble which just depicts the battle between gods and giants. Hellenistic artists skillfully just captured a wider sense of realism not commonly found in classical art. In contrast to the refined aesthetics of the Parthenon, the Hellenistic sculptures allow for a wider range of emotions and a greater exploration of human diversity.